The following program is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. You can request podcast topics, enjoy exclusive RPG and video content, and more. Even just $1 a month gets you gameplay episodes a week early and makes you officially cool. Just like our Trash Elite, a guy from Ohio, and Rob, DG, Destrucity KTL, Passion Killer 711, Drake Starstorm, Thomas Austin Jr., and Kitty Holbrook. Greetings and salutations. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and today we are talking about Thunderbolts, or the new Avengers. But before we get into that, as always, we have to talk about what's crumpin'. What's been crumpin' with you this last 7 days, my good man?
A bunch of stuff. We're in a block. So I find often that I go through blocks of this is the things I'm doing right now. I'm not a guy who changes up stuff a lot. But when I do, it tends to be like in a unit. So right now we're doing the same thing we've been doing. We're playing Oblivion, we're playing Marvel Rivals, we're watching YouTube, but that's always.
I am halfway, approximately, through the last book in the original Old Kingdom trilogy, Abhorsen. I am eager to be done with it. Not that it's bad, I just don't care, and it sure is drawing things out. Man, the world building in the first book, Sabriel's really cool. Main character's really cool, but like it is more a standalone book and then a duology than a trilogy. And I'm feeling it. This does not light me up like the first book did. I'm also trying to play through Avowed still. There's a couple of things I noticed about it. First of all, I don't think the game's difficulty is very well balanced. It's not bad, but you so quickly go over the line from I cannot beat this enemy to this enemy is nothing to me. They are an ant to me. I think there should be a little bit more granularity in the middle ground there. That being said, I've also noticed that I think this is the first game in a long time that isn't a Souls-like that has challenged me, and I forgot that other games are allowed to do that. And like what that's like.
Yeah, because when a Souls-like challenges you, it's different than what other games do.
It is, and I think that's part of their very addictive allure, that you can always kind of see, with certain exceptions, how you could be succeeding this fight.
You might not be able to walk the path, but you can see it.
Yes. And it's just a matter of getting yourself there, whether that's through levels or bashing your head against a wall until your reflexes get good enough or you're able to read the tells fast enough. Whereas with Avowed, I just kind of had to spam all my best moves in a way that didn't feel great and spend a bunch of resources. And that's not a knock against Avowed. I think that's a knock against the rest of gaming that we didn't know was bad until, Souls-like. But I was really mad at it for about half a day, slept on it, woke up and went, oh, wait, hang on. I remember this.
That's just what other games are like when they're hard.
Yeah. I remember it ironically from Oblivion, which I'm still not playing anywhere but the channel. You guys aren't seeing that yet. We talked about it in the Mega Man stuff. It'll be up after Mega Man. I think that's about it. I did finally starting to get into Hollow Knight after trying it 4 times over several long occasions. For whatever reason, I think things just clicked. I think Mega Man was part of it, actually. I think getting into an old platformer. I also beat a bunch of games in the Disney Afternoon collection. And then I was watching a streamer I enjoy, play through it for the second time. She says it's her favorite game, and I was like, maybe I should give it another try. It's got everything I should like, right? It's a Metroidvania. It's very Souls-like.
It's full of bugs.
Yeah, it's full of bugs. That was my next point. And I played it a little bit just today, and I had a pretty good time with it. So, yeah, all good news around here, but mostly. One other thing I will mention. I don't have to get into details about it. WCW Nitro episodes are still on Peacock in the US. I did not know that. I thought they were just gone because they're not on Netflix, but I didn't realize they never left Peacock. So I can watch Nitro again, and that's good because I'm not really into the other wrestling right now. that is the end of my crumpin'. Do you have any other crumps to share?
No, genuinely, you guys know it all. Like,
we've taken this man's last name and gone.
I don't look, Mr. Crump.
Crumpton, I think his name was.
This stopped being about you a long time ago.
It did. It was never about the dance move. I know, but that's not what it was. So, Thunderbolts. Let's do a quick spoiler-free review because there is a pretty large-ish spoiler I really want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So let's do the spoiler-free one. If you guys want to see the movie and you haven't yet, we actually caught this pretty early. I think this is the third week.
Earlier than we usually do.
We tried last week, just not full theaters.
Life happened, and full theaters are bad,
yeah.
And I don't like being in them.
Yep.
Spoiler-free review for me, very simple. Watch it.
Yeah, I don't. To tamper your expectations, I don't think it's as incredibly good as everyone's saying it is, but it's still a very good Marvel film.
To untamper your expectations, he's wrong. It is.
Well, okay, so like, and when we will get into this a little thicker, and we might as well transition now. You can go ahead and decrease your volume, hit the like button, hit subscribe if you aren't already.
To be more thorough, if you liked Marvel movies 6 years ago, genuinely, go. If you haven't been in a while, if you haven't been feeling the vibe since around about Infinity War, maybe Endgame, if the post Endgame life has been keeping you down, go see Thunderbolts. I'm not joking.
I will say, if I can give a more accurate representation, and I said this after we watched it, I think this might be near the bottom of my favorite Marvel movies. And I don't mean like out of all Marvel movies, this is near the bottom. I mean, it's whatever number is my tops, this is near the bottom of that number.
Which, I mean, given how fucking many there are, that's high praise.
Sure.
Almost none of them are bad.
It's definitely better than the Doctor Strange films.
Yeah, firmly agree, actually. Yeah. Both.
So let's get into this a little bit. I don't think we're going to be discussing too deep into the plot point by point. Sometimes we try to do that, but I do want to say that I'm surprised people are reacting as well to this as they are.
I am not.
I feel like there are several points here where the film was very tropey, was almost heavy-handed, close enough for government work, as they say, enough for somebody to latch on the anti-superhero movie crowd and be like, that's stupid.
Okay. Now, this is something I wanted to say for the podcast because I have a theory for this.
I'm listening.
I'm not going to say the movie was subtle. Anyone who says this movie is subtle is lying to you.
There are some subtleties in like scene composition and stuff like that.
And there's like good subtle references,
but not the plot.
The acting is sometimes very nuanced. Nuanced, I'm comfortable with. Subtle is not the right term. However, the tropes it has, that it holds dear and waves in a giant flag, the nose it is pointing to is a different one than the people who bitch about Marvel movies have been mad about this whole time.
That is true. I will agree with that. It is a little bit different.
Because, look, I don't agree with all of the complaints about the MCU. I'm not going to get too confrontational about it in this venue. But it suffices to say, I don't agree with you people. But I do listen to you. Because I make content on the internet about this, and while I'm not in charge of the Marvel movies, I try and keep informed, and there's a general rule of thumb that players shouldn't be followed, their ideas for how to fix a thing, but they should be listened to. So even if I don't agree with your criticisms of the MCU, I still try and listen to them. Because even if I don't think you're right about what's wrong, something seems to have been wrong. If this solid block of people all has a problem.
I find it interesting as well because I think a lot of what I really enjoyed about this film as compared to Captain America Brave New World is the focus on character was a lot stronger. This was, I wouldn't quite say a character study, but the focus is on the character's mentality, how they're moving through things, how they're dealing with things, making their individuality within the MCU richer. I feel like we got a lot of development for U.S. Agent, for example. And I like it a lot. He's a dick, but he's an earnest dick.
Earnest, yes, that's exactly the word I was going to go for. Because the problem all of the people who've been bitching about Marvel movies have is that they are too formulaic. All these movies end the same way, and they're too fucking jokey. Everyone's constantly snarking at each other. Everyone feels detached and like this isn't, what's happening isn't important or dangerous at all. It feels like a theme park ride where everyone's just trying to get their jokey little Joss Whedon quips in. These are the complaints these people have. Again, I do not agree with you people, but I have heard you.
No, we are two individuals who use humor as a defense mechanism. So in these exact same situations, we would be at least as jokey.
Yeah, one thing that gets brought up a lot, both as a hacky line that happens, the millennial, well, that just happened, or sure. Literally in Wakanda Forever, M'Baku says, well, that's not good. When a bad thing happens, I do that in real life.
Well, we are millennials, my brother.
Yeah. So I don't agree with you, but I have heard you. This movie doesn't do that. There are jokes, but there are serious moments, and when there are serious moments, the movie lets them happen.
There was one millennial line. I don't remember what it was, but it was in the wheelhouse of things that we are mocked for finding humorous. They're fresher in my head. I don't remember what the line was. Because I just finished Dragon Age Veilguard not long ago, and one of the things people criticized about that was there's a lot of millennial humor in the dialogue. And yeah, they're not wrong. You know why? Millennials wrote it.
But
I don't know what you want from me.
This movie is earnest. It is serious. It's definitely a Marvel movie. There's fun bits. There's jokes. Mostly under the umbrella of the Red Guardian. He's the comic relief character of the movie to a large extent. The others will make jokes. He is the comic relief, but there are also a lot of very serious conversations that are treated with a level of gravitas, and that's what people have been hungry for. So what errors in judgment or what problems this movie may have are much easier to forgive when you're giving a whole swath of people food they have been asking for 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain films that I do feel like that was absent from, and maybe it's just that people weren't seeing every movie.
Again, I don't agree with these criticisms.
Right, yeah.
But I understand why the people who don't like all those movies like this one.
I guess. It's just stunning to me that that's good enough. There's a bit in an episode of Frasier that I think is very funny. I believe it is Niles is talking about the room temperature is wrong, and Frasier's over at the thermostat. I might have that backwards. Doesn't matter. And Niles is like, can you make it a bit colder? So Frasier turns it down. He's like, no, too cold. Can you make it a bit warmer? Frasier turns it slightly up. And Niles is like, ooh, just a soupçon of cold. So Frasier stops touching the thermostat. Niles keeps talking about, oh, no, a little warmer? No, a little colder? Perfect. Played for laughs. Are you actually detecting, you, the audience who has been tired of superhero films, this small difference, what seems like a small difference to me, or are you following a zeitgeist? Are you just now finally watching the film instead of listening to a bunch of YouTube reviewers trying to get clicks with big "this sucked" red text? Is this enough for you, or did something else change?
Something is clearly different,
I guess,
because it's not just people who don't watch the movies who have been complaining about this.
You do more research than I do. I just hear sort of a bubbling response, not from specific people, certainly. Now, enough about the reaction to the film that isn't our reaction to the film. I understand, but was disappointed, this is the spoiler, that very early in the movie they killed off Taskmaster.
I was understanding and not terribly disappointed.
Well, it's a loss of opportunity.
I agree.
They could have done a fine job of making this a character, a version of the Taskmaster that is closer to the comic book version of the Taskmaster, genitals notwithstanding. Making, now that she is adjusted, making jokes, quips, being wry, being tasky.
But that's a twofold problem. One, that's definitely not the person they set up. No, that's, that person had little enough characterization that's not a huge problem. More importantly, two, I feel like you would have had to go too jokey for her to meet the energy of all of the people who really didn't like that version of Taskmaster, that it would have harmed the tonal shift they were going for the movie.
I also looked up the reason they gave as to why they killed her off, and they mentioned it's, spoilers again, a pretty bloodless film. And you want things to feel harsh, you want there to feel like there are stakes. So, on the other hand, if they killed her off, I applaud them for just fucking doing it.
Yeah, she didn't fall down an elevator shaft, she doesn't go missing and it's implied. No, she gets shot in the face.
And then the building she's in explodes.
Yeah, and they loot her corpse.
Yeah.
Like, it is very blunt.
I think a lot of cynical people will like that because, yeah, fuck you, MCU Taskmaster. I would have liked to see something closer to the comic interpretation of Taskmaster, at least for a little while. But, there's so many heroes, I can't be too mad about it. Tasky's just one of the ones. They're up there.
I'm going to be honest. I agree with all that. And I will say, if you really hate MCU Taskmaster that much that you're celebrating their death, weird that you're watching the movie. Look, I don't want to get too friendly with all you people. I do not like you very much.
They are saying, not you, our lovely listeners.
I'm speaking to if there are any people who have hated the MCU from, since, I don't know, whenever you decided to stop getting good. I want you to go see this movie. I think you'll like it. Also, I think your opinions are mostly born out of a sense of cynicism and a lack of interesting or important things going on in your life.
Look, it's not like I thought Black Widow was great.
No, it was mid.
Yeah, it had a lot of problems. And one was the stupidest, tiniest thing that just shattered my suspension of disbelief for the rest of the film because I'm a pedant. And obviously the Eternals was weird.
And not the same.
It was what it was.
But as you said, enough about the reaction to the movie.
Sure. So do you have any overriding thoughts? I feel like I've been driving a lot. Let's hit me with your juice.
I really like the emotional core of this movie.
I think it's something that most people, especially in this year, can relate to.
Oh yes, this is a very timely film in a lot of ways. I love their take on the Century, or Bob, as he is often referred to in this movie. And I really like, how to put this? Oh, you know what? This is an easy way to get this across. I love that they chose Black Widow, Yelena, White Widow, I believe is what she's called, as the lead for the movie. She's the protagonist of this movie.
I agree with that.
This is an ensemble cast insofar as there are other people with a lot of screen time. They have, and there are a lot of people with a lot of, important moments and that sort of thing. Yelena is the driving force, the emotional core, and our through line character. I think this is a fucking excellent decision. Florence Pugh, I believe her name is, right? Is phenomenal. I've loved this character since the moment she appeared on screen in Hawkeye, or was she in Black Widow first? She was in Black Widow first, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I love that too. And it's just, she makes an excellent emotional center for the movie. But I think they do an excellent job of still showing you the struggle of Bob, of someone with real, genuine shit in their life, like problems, not superhero problems, not I was a child assassin, I was a brainwashed super soldier, I was turns out a real asshole.
I would like to put it out there. I think everyone in this film, except for maybe Red Guardian, has some genuine, real problems.
Oh no, that's but they're over the top. They're
Grounded
outsized
problems. You're saying Bob
yes,
has.
like Bob has problems people in real life have.
Yes.
Bob has normal people shit going on, and centering that isn't less, that isn't less important. If that's what you're struggling with, that is also a valid struggle. I think is really good for this movie to do.
I agree. I don't know. It plays it really nice. I really like this. I think I like this better than Avengers, which isn't hard to say. Avengers was never my favorite of the MCU. But I really like the intentional dark mirror, and it's not too dark. We're not The Boys dark. But this intentional dark mirror to that coming together. You know, I really love how they followed a lot of the tropes. Oh, they've got to fight first before they get together, and then they get together, and there's still friction. You know, they went through all that stuff, but it has that Daredevil feel to it, that almost street level quality of emotive core and struggle. It was so cool to see them up against someone as unstoppable as Sentry.
Someone just way outside their power bracket.
Completely.
There are 3 super soldiers on this squad. Bucky is that's always kept more vague, but 2 definitely confirmed serum enhanced super soldiers. One,
Bucky confirms it in this film.
Yeah, that's he does. Yeah. And then one, and Bucky another one, and then Ghost, who definitely has some kind of superpowers going on in terms of like strength and speed in addition to her phasing. And then Yelena, who is a person, just like a regular, like cool martial arts person, against like Superman plus reality warper.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it just added a little extra, and it wasn't a big damn heroes moment that finished it off. It was, note the lack of Joss Whedon. It was risks I've taken in my own work that I appreciate seeing big companies, big production houses pull off successfully. It made me feel good as a writer. I know it's very personal. Most of you guys can't relate to that, but I did appreciate it. I thought the side characters were good as well. Obviously, Julia Louis-Dreyfus shines. She's been shining this whole time, and they really gave her a lot of runway to play with in this film as being not quite the egomaniac you expect, but close enough to it to...
I love that in universe, her character appears to be attempting to be Tony Stark. Like, beat for beat, attempting to become Tony Stark in the Avengers, in his character arc. She, from the stand-up to Congress, to literally buying his house, to doing a big press conference where she reveals a superhero team. She's trying to take that mantle because in universe, obviously you want to do that. He's essentially a saint.
And I liked Mel as well. I don't believe this is a comics character, but she was an interesting pivot that a couple of plot points moved around. I think the actress did a good job of portraying her. Geraldine Viswanathan. Maybe I pronounced that correctly. I thought she was fun. I hope to see her again in the future. She had some charisma about her. And man, there was something else I wanted to say, but my brain just went blank. Vamp.
Okay, I'll just talk about how much I like all the other characters.
Go for it.
I think they did really good work. Not so much with Bucky, but Bucky feels very settled. Bucky is past the dealing with your shit arc. He has dealt with his shit. He is now helping others to deal with theirs. And I like that.
It's got Wolverine energy.
Yeah. There's a really good moment late in the film that really helps sell that Bucky is, no, he's over it. He's risen above his shit, and I like that.
I mean, a lot of this cast, or a lot of these characters, I should say, really appeal to me because I like people who are damaged, There may be bad people, they do bad things, but they're trying to be better. It's just something that really shines for me. There's a lot of media right now. I don't know that I was ever that bad of a person, but I really appreciate seeing it. I get tired of seeing people being shitty for the sake of being shitty, and that being the beginning and end of the conversation. That's boring.
Yeah, people are shitty all the time.
Sure.
I was shitty when I was a younger man. Again, I don't know how bad I ever was. It's not like I ever, did wet work for some sort of evil corporation that you can prove. But you strive every day to end the day a little bit better than you were yesterday. And I like that that's kind of the that's kind of the feel of this movie.
Yeah.
I love John Walker. I maintain that Wyatt Russell is doing just the Lord's work at playing a believable tool.
He reminds me of so many people I've known in my life, and it's so accurate that it's very endearing.
He's just a guy. He's just a normal guy in like now really big circumstances, but like the struggle he's going with is less to do with being a super soldier and more to do with being a shitty husband.
Sure.
But there are, he's trying. He's trying to be better. I will say Ghost she wasn't going through it really in this movie.
No, and honestly, that's another reason why I'm okay with Taskmaster not being in the film much, because another character added onto this cast would have been too many cooks. Ghost already feels a little bit edged out. I think she still manages to stand there, especially because of her superpowers, and she's got some good lines, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, I more meant that she's just not emotionally in the shitter like Cap and Widow.
She's just had a literally difficult life. Existing has been difficult for her, and she's only recently got that under control.
She existed near Ant-Man for a while,
yeah.
So she is just from a slightly less depressing universe than these other two.
Sure, maybe that.
And then, of course, there is Alexei, who is struggling deeply because he's not where he knows he belongs. I understand the idea of someone who derives joy and a sense of purpose from being of service to their community. That's a good guy to be, even if you were otherwise kind of a shitty guy like Alexei.
I mean, I wouldn't call him necessarily shitty, but he does put his ego before a lot of other things. People aren't perfect. And maybe that's why people are responding to this so well, because we're all kind of growing out of that Tumblr era of puritanical expectation and understanding that, rough edges are better than a clean sphere when no clean spheres are available.
I think the MCU really nailed a paragon with Captain America, with Chris Evans, Captain America, Steve Rogers. He may be emotionally in terms of how he's treated by the narrative, the best version of Superman we've seen put to film so far.
Give us some months.
But so it's a mistake to try and keep doing that. I like the new Avengers. Z or no Z.
I like that too. I like a lot of what happened at the end of this film. So this is one of those things as well, okay? I was disappointed by Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness because I thought it was going to be a different film. I was not expecting a comedy horror film set in a superhero universe. I was expecting more of a coming together of many storylines and them being treated as grounded and serious, even if there were some silly parts to it. This was also not what I was expecting. I was expecting the Thunderbolts to get a job done and then be set up as antagonists to the Avengers. But because of the way the rest of the storylines have gone, we don't have the Avengers. So they just sort of rush to the fore, literally in terms of the film and in a meta sense, but also figuratively through the story. They rush to the fore and go, shit, I guess we're the heroes now. We trained so hard to be able to fight the heroes, and now we just are them because there's nobody else left to do it. And that's cool. I also think it's really cool, even though I question how much he would start a lawsuit about it, that Captain America, that the former Falcon, whose name escapes me,
Sam Wilson,
that he is Like, no, screw you. I'm going to build my own Avengers that is better without hookers and blow. What are you guys doing?
That's not Avengers shit.
And I love how much of a knockoff they are. I love how much the movie's end credits sequence treats them like a knockoff. The lampshade is so important to quote TV tropes. Putting that little bit of, no, I know this is what we're doing. Play along with us. You know, kayfabe, right? It's the wrestling part of me, the wrestling fan. Yeah, I'll boo the heel even though he's my favorite character because I'm supposed to. That's what he wants. I love it. It's got so much potential. And I think the film ends on such a high note with these poor motherfuckers. It's like being at a job and you get promoted above your actual ability and you're just you're lost. Yesterday you were a cashier. Now you are in charge of the front end and nobody has trained you and your predecessor left with no notice.
Best of luck.
And management expects you to swim. It's got those vibes, and I really dig these poor idiots trying their best and doing okay.
I love, even though Bucky knows the Wakandans, nobody fixed Walker's shield.